guys ready for this? Woo-hoo! Okay, here we go. The first time I masturbated, I was 15. I remember that day clearly and the moment that I came to realize that my body was capable of something quite extraordinary. By masturbation, I mean it was the day I discovered my clitoris. Now, the thought of sticking something into my vagina was not part of masturbation at all for many years to come. I come from a Mexican culture, and it insists that even the act of introducing a tampon into the process of menstruation meant that I was no longer a virgin. Thus, the thought of using anything to de-virginize myself was not part of the equation for many years to come. Instead, I engaged in the type of masturbation that ends in the holiest and most blessed of experiences. The climax, the orgasm, making the O face, seeing God, which, despite whatever else you may believe, the clit is the catalyst for and the divine path to coming. Now, I'd gone to the video store with my mom and picked out the movie The Outsiders to watch. I'd read the book a couple of years before. And growing up in El Cajon, I really identified with the greaser characters, as I too came from a lower socioeconomic background, and they were positioned as other, something I felt with every fiber of my being. Now, those unfamiliar with the film, it was made by Francis Ford Coppola, and thus was a beautifully rendered interpretation of one of my favorite books. It was the first film for many young actors who would go on to superstardom. And more specifically, it starred the catalyst for my lust, Patrick Swayze. As I watched the characters I'd only pictured in my mind come to life, I began to feel this tingle in the center of my being. And I was filled with a yearning to be touched, kissed, and taken. Now, I had no idea how I constructed this idea of being taken, but it had something to do with being swept off of my feet, carried off to bed. And having things done to me, I sat on the couch, squirming, unable to contain this growing feeling that I had, this need that was going to consume me unless I did something to take care of it. Now, my mother, sitting on the other side of the couch, was like, "Sit still!" I sat there with a funny feeling, kind of like I really, really, really needed to pee, but that wasn't quite it. All I knew was that this need radiated from my private area, and it was imperative that I attend to this need, or this throbbing, beating pulse was going to consume me, blurring all rational thought or ability to compose myself. So off I went to the bathroom, pulled down my panties, and allowed my natural instincts to take over. It was DIY time, and my hand somehow knew exactly what to do. Images of Patrick Swayze picking me up and carrying me to his bed, laying me down and undressing me was all it took, and my body was overtaken by a light so bright it forced me to close my eyes, throw my head back, and a feeling of being freed from my physical form and I experienced wave after wave after wave of pleasure. Whew! I was magic. It was pure pleasure, and it was powerful. My body could do amazing things, and this is what it was made for, to make me feel good. I know, they know. My fingers are tired, okay? Give me a break. After that first time, I revisited the bathroom on a daily basis to twiddle my twat. Yes, every day from there on out, I flicked my clit. I pet the kitty. I pushed the self-love button. I stroked the bean. I was hooked. Now, shame didn't come into the equation until the day my mother banged on the bathroom door during one of my nub rubbing sessions. I know what you're doing in there, cochina! And God knows what you're doing in there. I was mortified. Not just because my mom knew what I was up to, but because God could see me. God was watching me masturbate. And the image firmly implanted in my mind was of a bearded old white man with a scowl on his face, and he was tisking me while I acted as my own downstairs DJ. I moved my episodes of self-love to my bedroom closet under a heavy quilt. I figured God couldn't possibly see in my closet, and he sure as heck couldn't see under my quilt. It seemed perfectly reasonable to my 15-year-old mind that under the quilt and in the closet, I was safe from God's prying eyes. Now, summers in El Cajon are a brutal thing. And masturbating in the closet under a quilt was my sweaty teenage reality. I soon realized if I didn't find a solution to this peeping God problem, I was gonna sustain a self-induced heat stroke wherein my mom would find me passed out in the closet, no bottoms on, me frozen mid-act, giving my clit the two-finger salute. I had to figure something out, and giving up masturbation was not the answer. I eventually gave up my self-imposed masturbatory closet exile and began to play with myself in bed. I bit my lip to stay quiet, but every once in a while, a sigh, a moan, a groan would escape. I was not happy with these noises I was making because I was sure that even if my family didn't notice, God's interest would be piqued. And his prying eyes would again take in the sight of me pleasuring myself. The guilt I felt consumed me, but not enough to curb my daily exploration of my body. See, I eventually found justification for my actions and began to reconcile my unease with the thought of God watching me masturbate. Now, I couldn't help but think, I was taught that God created me. God did not make mistakes. Everything about me was part of God's plan. And since God made my clit, its purpose and intention was clear. It was made to be played with. I realized in that moment that God must be a woman. Not that old, angry, judgy male that I'd always pictured him to be. Instead, she gifted women with this amazing organ. So tiny and cute, and it just begs to be pushed and awakened. With this newfound knowledge, I realized that God was indeed watching me masturbate. And as such, it was a blessed act. After this realization, I threw the covers off each night after I was sure everybody had gone to bed. And I twisted the bean with reckless abandon. I started masturbating in other places, too. You feel me, girl, you feel me. You can't come feel me. Okay. At school, I'd go to the single-stall bathroom and have a go at coming before a test. At work, I would take a break, to get through a shift. And each time I did so knowing that God was watching me. Because, like me, God must be a bit of a pervert. Especially since she had time to watch me twiddle myself. Instead of, say, watching over like starving children or taking care of the homeless. Yes, because of masturbation, I realized that God was not only a woman, but a perverted one at that. And she had indeed created me in her image.